Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In previous video, I've already shown you the quick overview of Article Hub using the Spring Boot, Angular, and for the database we have used MySQL. So if you haven't watched that video, then just go to description and check out the link. From this video onwards, we are going to start the development of Article Hub in Spring Boot and Angular. So first what we are going to do is we are going to start the development from the backend part. So in the today video, we are going to do the setup of the complete backend. What includes in the setup is, first we will download all the required dependencies and we will configure everything in place. After that, we will implement the JWT token. Okay, so let's quickly start with this. So first thing what you have to do is you have to visit start.spring.io. In the another way, we can visit in this way. If you come over here, you have to search for Spring Initializer, click on this, and you have to visit the first link, this one. Click on this and it will give you the pop-up like this. Let me close the one. First thing, what changes you need to do. Like project, by default Gradle is selected, you have to select Maven. In the language, default Java is selected, so keep it as it is. After this, we have this 3.1.9 version. We are going to use a Spring Boot 3.x version, not exactly 1.9, but still we are going to use a 3.x version, the latest one. After this, we have some other configuration which needs to be done. That is the group, artifact name, description of the project, and the package name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a name to the group, and the same name I'm going to give to the artifact tree, and the same name I'm going to give it to the project name. That is com.article.hub. Let me copy this, paste it in the artifact tree, same in the name and same in the package. So make sure whenever we put this 2 over here, it creates the package like this. So I don't want like this, I want like this only. After this, we have the description. So you can update it like this, whatever the project is as per your understanding, you can change the description. Over here, you won't see the option for Java 8 or 11 because when we work with 3.x version, we have to compulsory use JDK or Java 17. So make sure Java 17 is installed and configured in your system. If you are unable to do so, then you can contact us on Instagram. We will help you do that. Okay. After this, what we have to do is, if you want to understand the group ID, artifact ID and name and package name, how these all internally work, then just comment in the comment section. We will create a separate video for it if you require. Next thing, moving forward, what we have to do is we have to add the dependency. So over here, first dependency we have to add is Spring Web. When we add a Spring Web, what it does is, after scanning the pom.xml, Spring knows that now we have to developed it as a web application, because when we add the Spring Web internally understand that this is a web application. On the basis of that, it places Tomcat server and other configuration related for web application is in place. Next thing what we need is we need a MySQL connector, MySQL driver to connect to the database, and another thing I need is JPA. JPA is a ORM tool which basically maps your entity to the table. If you find these all stuff complicated or you are not able to understand, you are a beginner, then don't need to worry. What we are going to do is, with time, with the step-by-step process, I'm going to explain and elaborate everything. I will make sure we are on the same page. So just hang on for some time if you are unable to understand. You can just comment in the comment section if you need a deeper explanation for any of the topic. Another thing what we have to do is we have to add the Lombok. Lombok is also, again, it's a dependency that is for basically to remove the boilerplate code from your project. So what is boilerplate code? So suppose if you define any variable into a class and if you are generating a getter and setters, these are the boilerplate code. If you are going to add the annotation, that is @getters and @setter on the class level, that is from the Lombok, then these getter setters method which you have to declare manually will not be required. So we will see that also in the upcoming videos. So now everything is in place. Once this project is downloaded, I will add another required dependencies like for the Spring Boot security, for this JWT tokens and other stuff. So let's quickly download this. So we have to simply click on this generate and it will generate and download the zip. Here you can see this. Make sure your system is connected with the internet. So let me quickly move over here to the downloads, and here you can see this. Once zip is downloaded, right click on this, click on this one, and let me extract it. Extract to article. Let me cut this one and paste it in one place where I put all my code. Okay, so we have placed into this place. Okay, next thing, let's open this in the IntelliJ or whatever IDE you use. Either you can go with the Eclipse, either you can go with the IntelliJ, you can use the STS, with whatever the choice you have. So I'm going to use the IntelliJ. Over here, I'm going to open it. In this one, I'm going to open com.article.hub, which we have added recently. So open on this trust project and it's opening. It will download some of the dependencies. So make sure your device is connected with the internet. So it will resolve a lot of dependencies. Here you can see it's downloading. Okay. So we have to wait for some time. This is how Maven helps. If you observe that, if Maven is not in place, then what we have to do is we have to download this much jar manually and we have to put in place, which is basically not feasible. So to overcome these issues, we are using Maven. So let's open it and go to pom.xml, and over here we have this all configuration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy some of the things like this pom, complete pom. Over here we have some extra things like we have a dependency for Spring Starter security. After that we have added this one, right? After this we have added also this MySQL, we have added Lombok. Another thing is these are by default added. These are by default added. We are going to add this JWT API, JWT implementation, and this JWT Jackson. So I'm going to just copy this one completely. I'm going to move over here and completely replace this. Save it and sync it. You don't have to worry about anything. After adding this one, I'm going to take a zip of this and I'm going to provide this zip in the description of this video. So don't worry about that. Okay, so now everything is in place. We are going to use the Spring version, that is 3.0.10, and we are going to use the Java version, that is 17. Okay, next thing what we have to do is we have to move back over here to the SRC main resources, and in the application of properties we have to add some of the properties that is to connect for the database. So into this one, what are the things which we have to add is spring.dataSource.driver, that's class dash name is equal to com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. After this, we have to add Spring Boot data source URL. So I'm going to add that spring.dataSource.url is equal to jdbc://localhost:3306. If you are using any Docker in your local system and if you want to use the MySQL running in your Docker pods, then you have to add the IP over here, the local IP. Okay, so I'm using the MySQL which is installed on my machine. So if it's the same for you, then you have to use in this way, localhost, and this is the port for MySQL / and your database name, article hub spring 1. I'm going to give this. So next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a database. Let me close this and let me search for MySQL. My password is 123456. Let me create database and this article hub is spring 1 and hit enter. It will create one database. So if you want to use it, use this one and hit enter. Show tables, and you can see this. Now we don't have any table. So the same database name I have added over here, article hub is spring 1. After this we have to add a username. So spring.data source.username is equal to root, and after this I have to use a password. After this I have to add some more properties that whenever my query is executed, I want to show or see that into my console or not. For that I'm going to use one spring.jpa.show-sql is equal to true. It means that whenever any query is executed in my application using the JPA, that query will be printed in my console. I will show that. After this spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl-auto is equal to create. What this does is whenever we create a new entity and we start our application, then this will create the entity. That is the entity. Suppose we have created one entity that is users. Into this one we have defined the 4 columns. So for that entity, it will create the table into my database with those particular columns which are defined into that entity. We will see that. If you are confused, then no, don't worry, we will see that. Spring jpa.hibernate.ddl-auto is equal to create. Once we are done with it, then we will change this one to update so that it will not drop the existing tables. Okay, so let's move further. Next thing we have to spring.jpa.properties.hibernate.dialect is equal to org.hibernate.dialect.mysql8 dialect. We are going to use this one. After this spring.jpa.properties.hibernate.format_SQL is equal to true. Why this format SQL? Like when we write this one, it will print the SQL in a single line, but I want it in a formatted way. Formatted way means that into a readable, more readable way. We'll see this in the upcoming videos. How if I comment this, what will happen? If I comment this one, what will happen? Okay. So now quickly save this. So now I have changed the pom.xml and also these properties. So what you have to do is, if you want to do the same in your application, what things you have to change? You have to change the database name over here. Make sure database is created. Next thing, you have to add the username or change the username as per your system. My system, it's root, and the password is 123456 in my local system. So I'm using this. So you have to change these 3 things: first, second, and third. These 3 things in your system. So next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to just move back over here and right click on this, and let me quickly zip this so that I can share this. Okay. I will share this zip in the description of this video. Make sure to download this, and after that you can start working. Okay. So let's move back over here. Next thing what we have to do is we are going to create some of the packages. In the Java, we have one. You can see this. We have com.article.hub, which we have given as a package name. So this is the package. This is the main application, that is article. So let me elaborate this. Okay. So over here, we have Spring Boot application, and Spring Boot application is the annotation which is responsible to start our application. It is responsible for multiple stuff. If I go into this one, we have three different annotation inside this. Can you see that? Spring Boot configuration, Spring Boot auto configuration, and component scan. So Spring Boot auto configuration, we will start with the configuration first. So configuration, what it does is, it denotes that the current class, that is the application, is a configuration class. You can declare any method with the annotation @bean, and it is going to create the object of that particular bean. It means that simply, in the simple way, we can say that application class is declared as a configuration class. Okay. Next thing we have is auto configuration. It means that it will, when we put @enable auto configuration, it scans the complete application. It scans the complete application and search for. It scans the dependency, whatever the dependency we have added. On the basis of that, it creates the bean that required dependencies, like whatever the beans we are needed to fulfill those requirements corresponding to the dependencies we have added in the POM. Third is component scan. Component scan, what it does is, from this path, that is com.article.hub, from this part onwards, it tries to find all the classes which are annotated with the stereotype annotation, that is @component, @repository, @service, and so on. With these annotation, it fetches it, and for all those, it creates the bean and keep it in the IOC container. These three things are there. These three are mandatory things. If you want to change the annotation with this one, so you can remove this and you can put all of these three which we discussed right now over here. Okay. So again, if you want these all topics needs to be discussed separately, then please comment in the comment section so that I can create a separate video. Before we go further, what I have observed is most of the people come and watch our video but forget to subscribe. So make sure you subscribe our channel. That would help us in growing in future. So let's quickly start with this. So move back over here. That is the com.article.hub. First thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a package. So make sure, click on this, click on package, and don't remove this. What I mentioned is you have to create all the packages after this root package, that is com.article.hub. After this, you have to create all the packages. So I'm going to create one package, that is entity. So all the entity I will place into this one. So right click on this, click on new, click on Java class, and I'm going to give the name user info. Hit enter. Into this one, I need some of the dependencies, that is @entity. After this, I am going to add another one, that is @table. After this, I'm going to use @data from the lamb box, and after that, all arg constructor. Inside this one entity, I'm going to mention the name of my entity, app user. Inside the table, I'm going to use this one as app user. So entity, whenever we mark, we put the annotation @entity, it marks the current class as entity class. And when we put the annotation at the table with this name, the table is going to be created in my database. With the @data, it provides all the getter setters and toString these methods. When we put all our constructors, so this is also a lombok, you can observe over here. So when we put this one, it will basically create all our constructor if there is no constructor in our class. After this, this will be implementing serializable. Because this is going to be if you want, it's better practice to implement serializable, because this may travel over the network. So in that case, to serialize and deserialize, implementing serializable is important. So private static final long serial I'm going to give it a 1L. You can give any name as per your choice. Next thing what I'm going to do is, let me just scroll it down. After this, we are going to declare a primary key. So that is private ID int, and over there here we have to add some annotation, that is @ID. After this, @generated value, and to this one strategy we have to define, that is generated type identity, that whenever a new record is inserted, it will automatically generate a new ID. Let's scroll down and we are going to define some of more variables, that is private string name, private string email, private string password, private string is deletable, private string status. After this, I'm going to create a four arg constructor that we are going to use it. User info. You can create manually, or what we can do is we can press Alt Insert into your keyboard. After this constructor, you can select all the required fields like ID, name, email, and status, and click on OK. And here you can see this, the 4R constructor has been created. And I want the getter and setters. So if you want, then you can add like this, getter and setters, Alt Insert, select getters and setter, leave the serial version UID, select all and click on OK. It will generate a getter and setters. So this is basically the boilerplate code. But as I have added @data, so still we don't need to add it. But for the simplicity and for the beginner's purpose, I have added it. Now save it. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create another package, that is DAO, which will basically contain all the DAO classes, DAO interfaces we can say, right? So new Java class, will select this interface, and this is user info repository. And this will basically extend JPA repository. And to this one, we will pass the entity, that is user info, and the primary ID, that is primary key type, that is integer. After this, into this one, what we are going to do is we are going to add one. Basically what it does is it makes JPA repository responsible to connect, to map this user entity with the database. So what it will do is it will map it with the help of this JPA repository. From here, I have to write one query, that is find by email, which we are going to use in the JPA. Like generating token, we are going to use it. So I'm going to write it optional. It will return user info. This is find by email. Into this one, we have to pass the string email. So if you are aware of this JPA, then you must know that whenever we type find by, and this is the field name. So if I go into this one, you will see email, right? So whenever we write like this and we pass the email ID, so it will internally generate a query like this. Select the star from user info, or what we have mentioned is app user, right? So it will move back. So internally it will generate select star from app user, where email is equal to abc@melinator.com. Okay, so whatever the email you will pass over here, that will be assigned over here. Internally, this query will be generated by this line. Whenever this line is called, this query will be generated. I hope you understood this. If not, then don't worry. We will see it later in the upcoming videos. Just save it. Next thing what we have to do is we have to create the JWT implementations. For that, I'm going to create another package, that that is JWT service. Hit enter, and a new package has been created. Inside this one, we have to create one class, that is, let me just create JWT service. Create the class. Over here, I am going to add the component so that the component scans it and create the bean of JWT service so that we can use it anywhere in our application. So over here, first thing what I have to do is we have to create a secret key on the basis of which our token will be generated. Static final string secret. Whatever the key you want to keep it over here, you can keep. Combination like this. I'm just keeping random numbers. So the same key will be generated, same key will be used to generate the token, and same key will be used to decrypt the token. Okay. Next thing, after this, what we are going to do is we are going to write some methods which are required. Okay. So first method, that is private, and it will return claims, extract all claims. And in this one, we have to pass the token. So what are claims? Claims, it means that whatever the data we are putting into the token, we are trying to extract all of those stuff. Okay. So return JWTs from the first one, that is JSON web token. Select this dot parse builder dot set signed key, and to this one we will call get signed key dot build dot parse claims JWS. Into this one we will pass the token and dot get body. So we don't have this method, right? So what we have to do is hover on this one, click on this, create a method gets sign key. Into this one we are going to write byte array key bytes is equal to decoders dot base64 dot decode. Into this one we will pass the secret. With the same secret we are going to decode it. Return keys dot HMEC SHA key for, and to this one we will pass the key bytes. I guess we have imported something wrong. Security keys. We have so the return type for this one is key, not byte array. Yeah. Now you can see this. Now the issue is resolved. Let me just cut it and paste it over this one. Save it. Next thing what we are going to do is we are going to write another method, that is token expired, to check the token is expired or not. So for that I will make some space, private, and it is boolean, and is token expired. To this one we will pass the token, return so for this one, just give me a moment. Let me just comment this. Before this, what we have to do is we have to write one method to extract the claims. Okay, extract all claims is over here. After this, we have one public, and this is of type T extract claim, To this one I will pass the string token, and to this one we will pass function, and to this one we have claims. Resolver, and into this one we have final. Claims is equal to extract all claims, and we will pass the token into this one. Return claim resolver dot apply claims, and return this. After this we will write one more method, that is to extract the expiration. So public date expiration string token, return extract claims. Into this one we will take the token, pass the token, and claims : get expiration. Alt enter and import Java utility. Let me show you that. This one you have to import. Okay, if anything is different, if showing a red line or anything, you have to make sure to match these imports. At the end, once this class is done, I will show you all the imports which is done, which is imported over here in my package. Okay. After this extract expiration, I have to write another method, that is to get the username. So public string extract user name string token, return extract claim. Into again you have to pass the token, and what we have to get is claims : get subject. Okay, after this we have to get the token. Let me just uncomment this. Here's token expired, and I have to return it. Extract expiration. Into this one we have to pass the token dot before new date. It means that a today date. This token expired. Suppose what I am going to do is I am going to pass the token into this one. This will return extract expiration. This one we are actually returning the date from the token, and over here we are checking that is the token is before the current time and date. If this is the case, then this one is expired. It means that it will return true. If this is not the case, then it will return false. Okay, after this we are going to write another method, that is to basically validate the token. So public boolean validate token string token user details press Ctrl Alt and L key to format the whole class. Over here what we have to do is we have to write final string. We will extract the username is equal to extract username, and we will pass the token into this one. Return username dot equals user details dot get username, and we have to check this not is token expired, and to this one we have to pass the token. So over here what we are checking is we have to pass the token over here, and the user details, that is from the database we will fetch by the email ID, and we have to check that the token is for the same user. If this is the case and token is not expired, then this token is a valid token. Okay, we already signed key in place. Next thing, we have another method, that is to create the token. So private string create token map string comma object claims comma string comma user name. Return JWTs dot builder dot set claims. Into this one we will set the claims dot set subject. In subject we are going to set the username. Dot set issue date, issue at new date. Into this one we will pass system dot current time milliseconds. Dot set expiration, new date. Into this one I'm going to set system dot current millisecond plus 1000 into 60 into 120. So over here it will take the current milliseconds and we are adding 120 minutes to it. It means that 2 hours will be the expiry time for this token. After this, dot sign with get sign key, and into this one we are going to pass the signature algorithm, that is HS256 dot compact. Now close this. Okay, so now this create token is ready. After this we have to write one more method, that is public string, and this is basically generate token. So generate token, and to this one we are going to pass the username, and to this one map string comma object claims is equal to new hash map. Return create token. Into this one we will pass the claims and username. So the question arises is, if we are not setting anything into this claims, right, but why we are passing this? So why I have designed this in such a way that if you want to add anything else apart from this username, then you can pass, whenever you're calling this method, you can pass the claims from your side while calling this method, and you can set it directly inside this one. So that's the reason I have made it dynamic. So now I'm going to show you once again. If you have any confusion regarding this one, then pause the video and just rewrite this all stuff. Okay. So let's quickly start with the below one, extract all claim, to extract all the claims, whatever the data which we have added into this one. After this, we have this signed APK, that is decode on the basis of base 64, decodes and the secret key we have to pass. After this, extract claims, extract all claims, and it will return that. Extract expiration, the token expiry time, expiry date will be extracted. Extract username, it will extract the username from it, that is the subject basically. You can see over here. While setting also, we are setting the username in the subject. Token expiry date, and this generate token, create token and validate token. Okay. Next thing what we have to do is we have to move back over here, the JWT service, and we have to create another class, that is user info details. And this will implement user details, and this user detail is from org.springframework.security.co.userdetails.userdetails. So it is recommended to never put the name user details for your classes, because this is internally present in the Spring security jar. So implement methods, there are so many methods. We will implement it in a while. Let's cancel this. We will declare some of the variables over here, that is private string name, private string password, private string status, private list of granted authorities. After this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constructor for this. Like this, public user info details. Into this one, we will have user info. Name is equal to user info.get email. Password is equal to user info.get password. After this, status is equal to user info.get status. After this, hover over this, implement method, and click on OK. All method is implemented over here. So over here, return authorities, and over here, return password. Over here, return username or name. After this, we have one extra thing, that is status. So for that, we are going to create one getters and setters. Select the status, and here we go. After this, what we have to do is we have to create another package. Right click on this one. Okay, not this one. Right click on this, new package, and over here I'm going to add one filter. Into this one I'm going to create another class, that is Java class, and this is JWT Auth filter. This will extends once per request filter. If I hover over this, it will help us implement to filter internal request. Click on OK, and it will be like this. So before we do this, what we are going to do is we are going to make some space over here. So I'm going to create one list, final list of string allowed end points is equal to arrays.asList. Into this one, we have to put /app user /add new app user. After this, we have another, that is /app user /login. After this, we have article /get all published article. Press Ctrl Alt L. So these are the endpoints which do not need JWT authentication. It means that without the JWT token, these APIs can be hit. So this is basically to bypass the JWT security for these three APIs. So these APIs we haven't developed yet, but in the future we are going to develop in the upcoming videos. Okay, so just stay tuned. So this is app user, all in a small case. Case also matter, guys. So make sure to follow the same case. Add new app user. Next thing is app user login. After this, article /get all published article. After this, we have to auto wire JWT service which we have created. JWT service. After this, we have to auto wire user info service. Okay guys, we missed one class from here, so we have to move back into this one, JWT service. Right click on this one, and over here we are going to create one user info service. Inside this one, user info service, what we have to do is we have to put the annotation service so that object for this one is created. After this, inside this one, we have to implement user details service, and hover over this one, implement method load user by username. So click on this, make some space. After this, auto wire private user info repository over here. And in the place of returning null, let me minimize this one. In the place of returning null, what we are going to do is we are going to call the method that is optional, and inside this one, this will return the user info, user details is equal to repository dot find by email, and we have to pass the email over here. This is the username, so I'm going to change this one to email. So copy this one and paste it over here. We have to pass the email. So we have to simply return user details dot map user info details : new, or else pro new user name not found exception. So user not found plus email. Control Alt L to format it. Okay. So now the task for this one is done. So if I go over here, you can see this method which we have written earlier by the email ID, we are going to get the complete object of user info. Why this optional is because with the help of optional, we can handle the null value. If you want to check that if this user detail contains the data or not, in this case, user detail dot is present method is going to return the true or false values. But here over here, this is not required. So that's the reason I haven't used it that way. Okay. So now this is done. Next thing, let's move back to this one. And over here, we are going to auto wire user info service. User details service. Save it. After this, I'm going to get the email null for now over here. After this, we have the method that is do filter internal. This accept request, response, filter chain, and it also throws a servlet exception and IO exception. So let's quickly start with this. So next thing what we have to do is we have to get the auth header is equal to from the request. So request dot get header, and to this one we need from the authorization. Next thing, we need the token. Token is equal to null if allowed endpoints dot contains request dot get request URI. If this is the case, then I don't want to filter. So filter chains dot do filter. Inside this one, we have to pass a request and response and simply return. So now this is the case when we don't want to filter the request. If this is not the case, then what we have to do is if auth headers is not equal to null and auth headers dot starts with bearer, because the JWT token start with the bearer. After that, bearer space and then the token is there. So bearer space and after that token is there. So token is equal to auth header dot substring 7. So why this 7? From that token, we have to exclude this 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and one space is 7. So we have to extract those 7 stuff. Okay. Next thing, we have to extract the email from the token. So email is equal to JWT service dot extract username. Into this one, we have to pass the token. Okay. Next thing, what we have to do is make some space. Now you can see the use of the extract username, whichever we have developed in this user service. Okay. Extract username. So move back over here. Now we are in JWT auth filter. After this, what we have to do is we have to check if email is not equal to null and an security context holder dot get context dot get authentication is equal to null. In that case, what we have to do is, let me just minimize this so that we can see it clearly. In this case, what we have to do is we have to simply call user details is equal to user details service dot load user by username, and inside this one we will pass the email. If JWT service dot validate token into this one we have to pass the token comma user details. Then if this one is true, because validate token is again going to return the boolean value. So if I go over here, you can see this, we are passing the token and the user details. So user details, we are comparing the username from the token. Is it equal? And the token is not expired. These two things are being validated over here. If this is true, then what we are going to do is we are going to create a user name password authentication token auth token is equal to new username authentication pass token. Into this one we have to pass the user details, then we have to pass the credential, that is null. After this we are going to pass the user details dot get authorities. After this we have to use auth token dot set details. Into this one we are going to set the new web authentication details source dot build details. Into this one we have to pass the request. After this we have to create the security context holder dot get context dot set authority. Into this one we have to set the auth token. If this all is successful, then we will call this filter chain dot do filter request comma response. Okay, so now this to filter method is ready. So in this one what we did is, let me start with from the initial of this class. There is a allow endpoints, we have mentioned it. Then we have auto wired these two classes. After this we have put this email over here so that we can use this in anywhere in the application. So I have extracted it and put in the at the class level. And in this one I'm going to simply create one constructor for it. Sorry, getter for it. So for the email only, we are going to get it. So if we want to validate for a particular email ID, then we will be able to, whenever we are going to perform any user specific request, in that case, I'm going to use this email ID in place of, directly place of passing the email ID from the UI side. So that this basically enhances the security. After this, let me just open it, and over here, we'll create another package, that is security. For security purpose, we are going to create one package, that is config, and to this one again I'm going to create another class, that is security config. Into this one, first thing what we're going to do is we are going to put some of the annotation, that is configuration @enable web security @enable method security. After this, into this one, first thing what we are going to do is we are going to auto wire JWT auth filter. After this, public user detail service, and this is basically going to return a new user detail service, user info service, because user info service implements this user detail service. If I go over here, you can see this. Okay, And over this, what we have to do is we have to put the annotation @bean and @primary. After this, we have to create one method, that is public, and over here we have to put the annotation @bean. So public security filter chain, into this one we have to pass http security, http, and this throws exception. To this one, http dot course dot configuration source. Into this one we have to pass a request, new course configuration dot apply default values and csrf dot disable dot authorize http request requests dot request matchers slash whatever we mention into this one. Let me just open it quickly. Where is this allowed one? Yeah, into this one. Let me copy these all and move back over here. We have to paste over here. That is the allowed one dot permits all. And return http dot build. That's it. Next thing, wait. Let me just remove this. Permits all dot and dot authorized http request dot request matchers slash ***. It means that apart from these requests, what I want to authenticate the other requests. So authenticated dot and dot exception handling dot and dot session management dot session creation policy. To this one we have to mention session creation policy is stateless dot and dot authenticate http request is already done. Authentication provider. So in this one we have to pass this authentication provider. So this is the method which we are going to create just in a while. So add filter before auth request, this auth filter. So this auth filter we have to mention it over here. Auth filter dot comma user name password authentication filter dot class, and finally return http dot build. And this authentication provider, create one method, that is authentication provider. Inside this one, what we are going to do is we're going to create this. So before we proceed with that, we have to also create another bean method, that is basically to encode the password. So public password encoder, simply return new BC crypt password encoder. And on the top of this we have to put the annotation @bean. After this, into this one we have this details service. So we have it. Okay, so next thing what we have to do inside this one, we have to create DAO authentication provider. authentication provider is equal to new DAO authentication provider, and we have to set the sum of the parameters into this one. Authentication provider set user details, provider service. To this one we have to pass user detail service. Let me hover over this. This one is set user details service, not password. Save it. Authentication provider dot set password encoder, and this is password encoder. And finally return the authentication provider. Now save it. Why I have used this password encoder? It means that whenever we are going to sign up, then it will encode the password and save that into the database with the encoded password, so that the application owner also cannot read it, and for the security purpose also. So it's never recommended to store the plain password in a plain text. Okay, next thing, we have to create one more bean. Okay, so we have to put the bean annotation over here also. That is public. Let me add a bean annotation over it. Public authentication manager. It's going to return authentication manager, and this is going to keep the authentication configuration. Config, which also throws exception. Return config dot get authentication manager. So now the task for this one is also done. So what basically this is a Spring filter chain. Basically the configuration, we got the request and then we disable the CSFR. After that we bypass these all stuff, these all endpoints, permits all. After this, any request apart from this, it means this is a pattern, regex pattern, authenticate, and exception handling and session management, other stuff is done over here. Okay, and to authentication provider, what we are going to use, we are going to use this DAO authentication provider. In this one, we are going to use this user detail service, and in this side, this user detail service, this is from the this class. This one is implemented. This one load a user by username, so we are going to use this one internally. Okay, so this one is not directly called. This is internally called whenever the request is hit to validate the token. Okay, now let's quickly try to start our application. So move back over here. Now click on this, run application. So if our application is run or started successfully on the port 8080, it means that everything is configured properly. Okay, so this is failed. So at the rate bean method or the must not be private or final. Okay, so let's quickly fix this. Authentication provider. Okay, this needs to be public. Let's quickly start once again. Okay, we got one more exception. Entity manager factory define in. Okay, before that we have some other also. Okay, this one throws exception, so let's quickly check that. I guess we have written something wrong. So quickly minimize this and go over here to the application.properties. Spring dot data source dot driver dash class dash name. Okay. Hibernate dot dialect org hibernate dot dialect MySQL 8. Okay, this one we don't have to add it. Let me start the application. Okay, application failed to start. Filter authors might require a bean. The filter that could not be found. JWT auth filter bean is not found. JWT auth filter. So I guess we forgot to add the annotation into this one. So over here, we forgot to add the component. So let's try once again. So now, okay. So now this port 8080 is being used by another application. So let me quickly change the port. Spring. Default port is 8080, and in my system, I guess I have run some other application on 8080. That's the reason it's throwing an exception that we can't able to run the application on the port 8080. For now, for the showing purpose only, I'm going to show you the 8080. So here you can see this. Now our application, the Tomcat, is started on port 8081. Now the setup for the application is completed. Okay, and here you can see this. This is the query which is executed. And if I move back over here in the application or properties, as you can see, I have added the create. So whenever I'm running the application, every time this one is dropping the table and creating the new table. And here you can see this. Now the query is formatted also. So if I comment this, let's see what will happen. Not like this. We have to put hash over here to comment it. So now restart the application, stop and rerun. Let's see this time how it behaves. So again, it will drop that table and it will create it. So here you can see this. Now this is printed in a single line, which is very hard to read. If the query is quite large in that way, it is very hard. So this is the way we are going to format it. If I remove, if I comment this one, then that query itself will not be printed in the console. And if you want to, if you don't want to drop the table and create the again, in that case, what you have to do is you have to use update. So what it does is, if any changes is there in your table or any new table or any new entity you have added in your project, in that case, it will create that. It is not going to drop your existing table and recreate that. So let's quickly restart it and see it also. So here you can see this, you want to be able to see that query. So now what I'm going to do is, from the database, I'm going to again run show tables and I'm going to drop table app user. Can you see this? I have dropped the table. Now show tables empty. So now if I restart, now this time that query will be executed because the table itself is not there. So here you can see this. Now the query is executed. So now we have successfully integrated setup. The complete setup is done. We have integrated the JWT token and it's working as expected. Now our application is running. Okay. So if you face any issue, then just comment in the comment section or just reach us out on the Instagram, either to purchase the code or you can directly contact us for the resolution of the issues. As per the availability, we will try to figure it out. Okay. Next thing, just comment this one because I'm not going to work on this 8081. We are going to work on 8080 only. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share with your friends.